Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Inside X series, where we explore all the aspects of the most advanced dartboard in the world, the Blade X. Today we have got the Heritage episode, where we look back at some very old dartboards in the company of former world champion Mark Webster. The first ever Blade was out in '97. It was quite revolutionary because it was the first staple-free dartboard.
I was just getting into darts, and you're trying to get the bug for the sport, and it served a purpose at the time. It was a brilliant board.
So after the original Blade was launched back in 1997, it took 5 years until Winmau released the Blade 2.
This is where I got my first real bug.
Okay.
Obviously, the thick wiring, there was a lot of dead spots on this board. And I would have played on this board maybe more than the others because I was so enthusiastic. I enjoyed it. It served a real big purpose in my career.
What did the players accept back then, which would just be a total no-no now?
Yeah, it was accepted that you had a few bounce outs, that there was thick wires, and it was just part of the game then. But this is the one I think causes the debate for the older generation players who are like, could these players now hit the big averages on this? You move with the times, you move with the sport, and we've come a long way.
Let's move on. After your county pub playing days, Winmau released Blade 3. You probably think, wow, this is the pinnacle. It can't get better than this.
You do at the time and you think, where you're going to go after this. I think this is a huge jump in terms of the 2 to the 3. Obviously the wiring's a lot thinner, and it was more durable as well, and players sort of looked at this and went, wow, here we go. But the bulk of my professional career in the BDO was played on the Blade 3. I won the World Championship on there as well, so let's get that in
on
there.
the Blade 3?
Yeah, I did.
Wow,
yeah,
okay.
But there was a little bit of movement in the wires. I think about games I played at the Lakeside against Simon Whitlock and Martin Adams. Massively fond memories of this board, and I think this was a huge jump. It's my favourite board. I've still got the old board at home.
Blade 4. What strikes me first is that it's a much cleaner board. There's no biscuit lines on this one.
The dual core came in, it was a lot more durable board. Aesthetically pleased as well, it just looks better, doesn't it, without the biscuit lines, and it was a slip board at the time. This was my constant board to practice on. The wiring, again, thinner, a bit more embedded, and it was less bounce outs as well. I thought the jump from the 2 to the 3 was big. I feel this was really big, and obviously the rotor lock system on the back as well. Gone were the days of folding up beer mats, bits of cardboard to pack out your board, just a simple roll. At the time I was heavily involved in we were testing boards out. It was quite exciting coming back saying maybe not that or this and that. Winmau listening to their players, and it had an impact with the board.
And back then, was it a case of players thinking how good a board was could determine the outcome of a game?
With hard spots on a board, if your dart goes in and it's landing and it's a bit flimsy now, you've got a decision to make. You've got to come down for cover, and it can derail you, or if it lands on a funny angle. And they were all the issues in the early part of darts, but that have been addressed now.
Okay, well, it does get better. So 2016, obviously, the game's getting bigger. There's more money being pumped into the game. Winmau released the Blade 5, and this, once again, was the greatest dartboard of all time. I
was at the tail end of my career at the time in the PDC, and there was a lot of scrutiny about the boards we were playing on. There was a lot of bounce outs, there were soft spots on the board. They were coming under pressure. The players were playing for big money, and we don't want the board spoken about. By launching the Winmau Blade 5, they were sort of listening to the whispers that were going on. Players wanted that perfect board, and this was there. It was thinner wiring, less bounce outs, more durable, no hard spots, and it was angling towards that transition where the Winmau was going to come onto the PDC.
So the players were demanding more standard in the board, is that what you're saying, from 2016?
They really were. We were often speaking about how we weren't happy with the boards. They were inconsistent. You'd play one that was too hard, one that was too soft. You could hear points hitting the back of the board, and this one answered all those questions. Money was being pumped into the sport, the coverage was getting bigger. It was the time when Michael van Gerwen was being dominant. He was at the top of the sport, and he was making demands for the board, and people were starting to listen. The PDC boards were coming under scrutiny, and there was a lot of negative talk about them, and it was affecting the players. So this was perfect timing to launch this board. It had everything that the players needed.
I find it quite funny that just 10 years ago we still had the white wire numbers.
Again, yeah, you can't believe it was 10 years ago, but you look at it now and you think, but you move with the time. It was acceptable at the time, but you just move on. This is where the averages went through the roof. This was kind of, your 100 averages were becoming the norm, and the impact of the board really helped.
Okay, the iconic board that we know of the last couple of years, the Blade 6, they were partnering up with the PDC. Just how important was that partnership?
Yeah, this was a huge launch, wasn't it, for the Blade 6. This was going to be on telly throughout the year in the big tournaments, for the pro tours as well.
And all the advanced technology, like the world of darts had never seen anything like this before, had they?
We've gone away from that silver wiring, and I think that, it just looks a lot more professional. It's a lot more durable now. The wiring system is no rejecting darts, and yeah, players are producing their best stuff, and it is due to the triple core. The board's holding up, it's doing its job, and it lends to exciting times, to big legs, to big moments, and we've had plenty of them. Players not talking talking about the negativity of the board, just getting on with it, and the darts and the sport was doing the talking. 9 darts are coming in left, right and centre, and you just expect them to happen now. And like I said, the board is doing its job and the players are certainly doing theirs.
Yeah, a lot of history on this board. How could it possibly get better? Well, the world's most advanced dartboard is here, and it's the Blade X. Should we go and have a little look?
Definitely, let's go and have a look.
Okay. Lee from Winmau, now you've been there at the very beginning of Blade's journey.
So I'm Chief Manufacturing Officer for Winmau. I came into the business when we were actually running Blade 2, so I've been sort of heavily involved in the development and the evolution of the Blade dartboard.
Is there a sense of pride and how far you've come?
Massive sense of pride to see where we've come to now with the Blade X. I mean, it's sort of a culmination of all the different types of technologies and experiences that we've had over the years.
You want a durable board. No need for players to have these aggressive points anymore. Just use the point you want. You want to focus on just playing darts, and the board provides that for the players.
Many of the sort of lessons that we've learnt over the years are incorporated in this no stone unturned with this board.
Why not Blade 7? Why Blade X?
There is so much work went into this. There were so many features and so much effort and research and development went into it. Literally, it was almost like this is just a step too far. This is a TV board. This is going to be used on all the top major tournaments. There's a lot of input from the professional players, but it's also backed up with internal testing. We've thrown up to 6 million darts at this board. Results that we're showing are sort of off the scale, you know. It is by far the most tested dartboard on the planet.
The standard of players now, and we see the averages, the numbers, the equipment has to adhere to those standards as well now.
They've moved with the times, Winmau in all their boards, and the board just needs to be a spectator. It doesn't want to be talked about, it just wants to do its job, and this one does that.
What are your hopes for the Blade X?
I want to see sort of a few records broken. If we keep pushing the boundaries, I think the whole game of darts is going to elevate as well.
The players, they like the new board. Obviously, it looks really good. You want to play on the best equipment, and the Blade X certainly does that.